so that we make sure we have a chance to talk about release or cycle priorities before too many people start wandering out. Yeah, so priorities. What do people think? This user messaging one is a priority for me. I want to see that in there for sure.
Yeah.
HA.
What were the ones that we had in Taka that are still open? Rolling upgrades, HA.
Anything finalizing, but
yeah,
there's not really a tremendous amount of work to do.
But it should be done as soon as possible to get the whole entire release.
The CI, it's like pushing it.
Yeah, I think. But I mean, we should list them definitely.
Okay, improving test coverage.
Like every topic is like, oh, we need more test data, we need more backup test data.
Should we set a goal, or I mean, I guess that having that as a priority, that's kind of a general thing that we always want to have better test coverage, or should we try to set some target of? Multi-node, yeah. I guess if we could just get multi-node testing in this release, that would be a big gain.
Yeah. It's going to be a requirement for multi-attached stuff.
So when you start multi-node, that be migrate,
Yeah.
we know how far. Consider multi-node game. I mean, Nova.
Yeah.
Nova has multi-node tests, so far enough it's there, and we should just piggyback on that. Yeah, it may be, well.
No, we're setting that up in third-party CI. Is that going to be required? Or?
May require some driver package. Realistically, how else can we do it? Right, you're not going to have a real backend. You can't share LVM. Well, you know what that LVM has LVM, maybe, I don't know. That's like a big. Anyway, we can look at that. Either do a gateway where we let talk to each other, or you do it in an NFS mounted thing that looks like a shared storage way. Randomly. But I'm awesome. I'm happy to work on this.
Okay, great.
So maybe one thing that helps with some of this prioritization is if you're interested in HA and you're a reviewer, report, maybe have some names associated with something. Corporate act, maybe if you care about this, please, because that's a lot of the work is getting attention to patches.
Yeah.
So we tried that in the past, and I know sometimes you get out as well, but it's still kind of nice to say somebody wants to sign up. That's what gates a lot of this.
Yeah.
Developers seem pretty good at getting going out there, but
That makes it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for these not so straightforward. How do you test them? Type patches.
The hard stuff.
Yeah, the hard stuff.
Yeah.
It's not only reviewing, but pulling it down and testing it as well.
Yeah.
Which is the worst part of it. Or best part of it, however you look at it.
So, can we get cores to sign up for at least the top couple? I mean, the functional test, anybody can, non-cores can pull those down pretty easy and test them. But,
I don't know. Do we need to do that right now?
well,
I think I already did set up a review spec.
Etherpad priorities.
I'll just work on keeping that try to keep that maintained throughout the cycle. So everyone, if anyone's looking for priority items, they could go there and pick an area. And hopefully then we could list cores in there that are kind of the ones that.
Right now.
Or, yeah,
Sign me up with the first two.
throw your name on there.
Messages and HA.
There's lots of people see it.
Yeah. Minus one.
And non-cores too. Reviews are always welcome. Testing's always welcome.
I just want 2 cores with +2. Nobody else please. Oh.
That'd be good, yeah, have a report in each one. Okay.
We
Yeah.
used to do that. So,
No.
yeah. Back in the day. That worked good.
Yeah,
It's
sounds like
2
a good
minutes
idea.
Update.
Yeah, to keep it on
Yeah.
the agenda and so people know where it is. Where do we go list? Oh, spec review check. Okay, good, perfect. Yeah, I'll update this, but this is probably out of date.
The extend volume on it. Yeah. There's a question that you raised, which was very good, and I agree with you, whether we should be tying ourselves directly to, assuming that Nova's on the other side. We just do, yeah, I think Nova should be driving that. Or whoever's using Cinder. They ask Cinder to do it, it says, okay, I did it, and then they drive the rest of it. Yep.
We can have a service call requirement online. Right now, we don't have. Yeah. And that, they want to attach one, and then they go over, and attach one without having.
But Nova's going to be calling the same exactly. To do the extend.
Four service calls.
Yeah, but that preclude this unknown service we're gonna have in the future that uses it.
No, you check it all. Or you can.
I can see a user on an ironic instance wanting to do extend as well. How does that work?
To say, like, extend it, do it patched. Yeah, because worst case scenario, they do it and they just don't see things, right? I mean, they might complain, but.
Cinder will say success,
Yeah.
and then it's up to, yeah. I mean, I added the hooks and brick a couple of releases ago, to manage all of the calisthenics of what to do on the host for that. So it's also another candidate for the Cinder client extension, I think, for the Ironic case. But there's a lot of work that has to be done on the Nova side that, I mean, I think that covers, the spec talks about another spec in Nova to do this, but I don't know where that's going to go. So, I mean, if the Nova side isn't going to,
Who's
I don't remember the name. Yeah, look at it.
This was talked about a couple of years ago. They've been working on it, they've worked this all.
No, so
Never need to catch up, like, it wasn't ready yet, the version that we use now.
So I'm pretty sure the underlying stuff. Do all this.
right, but on the host side, even before it gets delivered, the host needs to recognize that the size is bigger because that's what gets passed up. And the brick work is what I did in Liberty to allow that. So there's going to have to be coordination, right? Is that Nova's going to have to coordinate telling Cinder to do the extend, then it has to call Brick to do the extend, and then it calls libvirt to do the extend, and then the guest is going to have to do all of its calisthenics inside to do the extend there, which, so there's a lot of moving parts along
Yeah, I
this
just
one.
wasn't sure how much development.
So the Brick stuff is done. Part of the Nova spec, I believe, is talking about what has to be done to coordinate with Cinder and Brick and then libvirt. So I don't know.
Just the service role itself, is that we obviously have friends. Literally, we spend on policy budget now. Can we put that in at least initially so that we can't call this and have expectations? But,
We never calls their call with user credentials.
so,
Never calls the call with user credentials.
nobody can have a service role. You can do the phone facing in different clients. So we can say, I know you have all the users roles, what's my service role, service role. Nobody has it.
Would that work for the Cinder client extension as well? Because it's going to need to do it too.
Yeah, I just, what I don't want to do is answer it now, but if it doesn't work, I can use it and get that.
Right.
And just calling the Cinder and saying, okay, you fix it yourself, I don't like it at all. Like, if the normal case of this isn't going to be useful for normal users,
Right.
I just don't want Cinder to have it on.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. That's why it's been disabled forever.
Yeah.
But how can we get it to the point where we do enable it and it works for Nova and the Cinder client extensions?
One thing, on this service role, in the default policy, that we've shipped and that, this is what I used to do, we go on change policy. So, you know, I wanted to just go check the policy and just have that for at least a week.
You're gonna have a new API that you can put it on policy check on.
Yeah.
An extend I really need.
Yeah. On one extent, on the flag to do it extent. And what different policy on internet. And the development API, that normally uses won't be on call, so there's no problem with messing up user expectations.
Yeah.
So this is one, I mean, it's not easy to do. There's always been, we left it at, we could do this someday, but since we don't need it now, we won't do it until we need it.
I think we definitely want to do this, what we're going to do is make the policy more live on the future as things change.
Yeah.
Just start with the restricted policy now. And by default, you know, whether it's your confident that they will allow you to
Okay.
do this, right? They just want it, not hard.
That's fine. Why don't you add that to the review then?
Okay.
Because this needs to be coordinated with Nova. So, and it hasn't really been ready at this point, and why it wasn't in the Nova Cross project. I mean, it may have been, but we just never got to it. There's so many topics.
Real quick, user messages. Host should not be in it, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Any other,
You can just let people see the host call.
We can do that in the future, though.
Well, no, I mean, that doesn't have to be the policy in, if you want your customers to see hosts. you can
Oh, right.
see hosts.
Right. Should we have it at all?
What's that, in the message thing?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
You can get it easily enough.
Yeah. Okay. I just want, if it's put in there somehow. It's gone now. Let's
So
move.
now I'll backpedal and say maybe in the HA case it's useful, but that's a whole, that's a crazy topic.
Yeah.
multi-patch.
I gotta say, when I'm on my customer, that.
Yeah. My problem with saying release priority for us is it's not a release priority for Nova, and we're pretty much gone as far without them joining us.
It is hard because. So it is not they won't get work done on it. I mean, I agree, it should be a priority. It doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. Yeah, all that hashtag.
Any other ones? I guess one thing I'd like to see is just the broader adoption of cheesecake, more cheesecake. Mhm. Which one?
Local touch.
Oh, local attach. Yeah.
I spoke with Brigade yesterday, and he wants to get the speak in their space.
Mm. Okay. Good.
Yeah, but we don't have to say everything we want to do as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, right, just all these things are added, there's that. Are those priorities?
Yeah. So these are, we probably, we've gone beyond our big priorities, I think. Anybody else have any big?
I'm not sure extend volume falls underneath that.
Yeah. These are
It's not ready, I don't think. There needs to be much more coordination with the Nova team to figure it out.
So I guess really the top high overall priorities I see are the user messaging, the active HA fully working, and for me at least, I think cheesecake. So if it's, I don't want it to be 5 backends that do it and that's it.
How many more backends do you have to take?
Haven't looked at it all, but I'm pretty sure there's quite a few more that do replication that don't have the support right now.
Yeah, I would like to see more drivers adopt it before we start moving on and adding more capabilities into it, because it just,
Yeah.
that's what bit us with the last version of it.
If you've got like that,
Yeah.
they should always work like that. I mean, if that's documenting that you do know the defects and know that, in the worst case, if you do that, it should always work. Don't you happy with that? I don't care. Because a lot of people do the whole cheesecakes that really awesome would be not for someone to then go and attach the volumes that have been sent over the application to a new reference.
Oh.
No. So you had a disaster, you call your cheesecake failover, you have to get taken from it. That's the whole point. The cheesecake was a DR. It wasn't supposed to be something you would then reattach to. But you can't be on video data stuff like this, so that's where the admin gets involved and then fails it back. No. Once we fail it over, it will be in the optimal work. How do I get that? You can't. Yes, you can. Like everything on the list there, I can attach to it. No, not necessarily.
The intent was that you can like fail over high volumes of information. Yeah, I think part of the confusion is that the majority of the drivers that implement this, you sort of went over it further, and for the most part, when you fail further, if your compute node is over there and the thing you're replicating to, let's say storage network or whatever, you can if they were built.
Right, but it doesn't make any sense without that. Like, otherwise, you just set it replicated back in. I think we have different opinions about those.
So yes, once you fail it over,
You have to address that. If you can't attach, you can't do it.
once you fail it over, you can attach to it. So if you want attached, you have a whole bunch of node gyrations to get unattached and reattached.
Yeah. Do I want to document those gyrations? I want to set the gyrations that should work. I don't care how complicated they are. I don't care if some people can do
Okay.
that.
Point taken, we'll document.
Was this is the DR, these things are bunker with no requirements anywhere near it. That's what DR is.
So the thing is, we didn't
So it sets itself up, when you fail over, it picks up whatever part of that string, so it talks to any requests you make to that backend, go to the failed over backend, assuming that it's not, it becomes managed.
So then, it really does. So then she can do that.
Yeah, that's basically how it ended up. Yeah,
How it ended up.
That was not defined in what we agreed
But
on.
why should it only need to know that? It's just a very difficult one to fix up. There's no sense.
That's exactly why we have the concept of freeze and thaws, because it is a managed volume at that point. It becomes managed. That's why we have the concept of freeze and thaw, because you can, without freezing, you can take actions to create a snapshot and clones and things like that that we want to prevent. It is a managed. You may want to, but
So the big ugly, so I did a presentation on this in the general section. I don't know how many showed up to watch the video. The big ugly is once you failed over, you did A to B and you're running on B. Well, now you buy C to replace A. The answer is hack the database in order to get it so that you can go get B being the primary. So that's one of the things that helps out.
and that's not even covering what happens with failing over a volume that's attached.
Right.
I think we're in a bad state right now with cleaning that up.
Yeah.
Because Cinder, I think, will fail to detach if Nova asks it to detach. Cinder thinks it's attached even though it's failed over.
This all
That needs to
started
be
with-
fixed.
Okay, wants to have a well-documented example, but doesn't this mean that we do need a well-documented example?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I want the minimum volume of the word should say. And the cold storage doesn't do that.
Right.
I'll take that and go document.
Thank you.
But I think we also need to code and,
Yeah.
And I think we need to make a priority fixing what you highlight in that presentation. And you make that a priority to fix
So
that.
Alex submitted a blueprint.
To prove
One of the things we want to talk about is how do you fail that back? Because the database hack is easy.
Let's
But you got-
not talk about that here. Let's talk about the written form where people actually think before they talk.
We need some
Yes.
ideas. We need some ideas, throw them into something, and we'll
Yeah.
work through it.
I'll throw up a spec for that blueprint. That's good.
but I think we have bugs with detach right now in Cheesecake that we need a bug fix for. That is separate from your proposal, separate from tiramisu.
But I think first we need to call expectations of that. It's a good idea because you never do it fast enough. I think that's not cheap.
Okay, but we do know that we need some documents. Well, we're not gonna solve that. Those that you're talking about here. Okay. That would be-
So I have a question. How important to us is this feature discoverability? I'm going to totally change topic because replication is not it. Like how high on the priority list do we want to put us being involved in that whole API working group to get this feature discoverability stuff so we can fix the scale IO thing and any other crazy API validation that we want to do based on this feature
There
set?
seems to be a lot of dependencies on that. That's seems to be pretty
I
high.
think it's something we need to do, but I don't think, I don't think we failed to release process. I don't think all of this is taken.
I agree.
But it should probably be something that should be started
Yeah,
to
I
at
mean,
least get a,
The sooner we help the group decide for a solution that works for us, the sooner we can fix the
Yeah.
what we want to fix. I just think that maybe that's like a back to our mind priority, not a we have to do this.
So what's the workaround for Scale IO now? Do they just make a patch in the driver to say, hey, if you don't do multiples of 8 sizes, I'm going to fail?
That's hard, but yeah, it's a workaround. Well, so it depends on how hacky you want to be.
Right.
If you want to be super hacky, you hijack the API call, it looks at create, says it's not a multiple of 8, and tells them, hey, that's not a multiple of 8. But I mean, that's not something we can do like on a wide scale. That's one customer might want to do this stuff themselves out.
So in the scale, I don't know, we need to run the next day. If they ask for a number, you run it.
Right, but the problem is.
And that's how it happens now,
But
right?
yeah, the quota is all.
yeah, but then the
problem is
quotas.
the quotas are out of date.
And I really don't want to put all this quota workaround stuff in Cinder at all.
No.
Like,
Uh-uh.
if you're using Scale IO, your quotas may be off by a factor of whatever.
I don't like the rounding or anything like that. That's
Well,
asking for it.
you mean inside of Cinder or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like changing the Cinder volume size. I mean, all of that stuff is really bad.
Mess. Why don't we put?
Well, yeah, I think I was saying that we need to do something in the capability reporting so that at that time, before you even send a request to the driver, at least you need to know the quota so that before you start updating the quota table.
So you want to fix that is.
Yeah, it's at a high level.
Right,
Because this is I think this is a pretty big problem. It's not like
That's not
something
going to
that
be
can
solved
fixed
anytime
very
soon. So
easily.
I'm thinking more of a short-term stopgap. So
Short-term-
Scale.io can actually function, work, and the quotas aren't getting destroyed and falling apart. So
Yeah,
I would suggest just putting a change in the driver itself that does checks
well,
to
but
make sure.
the problem is then it's not going to fix the quota, right? So that's the
If we have
problem.
user
There's
It
no-
doesn't, but you'll fail. You'll fail over, so the quota will
You'll
get pulled back.
Just fail.
Fail on create, yeah.
Yeah, these are.
You can't-
I mean,
Well-
it's crappy. It's totally crappy, but we're not going to break all of Cinder because of one vendor.
I think we should document scale IO message quotas for now. I think that's a better customer experience than you need to know when you're on this certain cloud that you want to play.
I think that's pretty debatable which of those is worse. They're both pretty bad, right?
They're both
Either
pretty
you have
bad.
a network, so the operators are screwed, or customers have to read the documentation down and create volumes in multiple states.
Until we get this all fixed. It's just a
They're both
short
pretty
term.
bad.
Well, right now your quotas are screwed, so we're very bad.
So when do you think we could get the whole thing, the
Well, we need to
fixed?
get an agreement on the cross-project team for that capabilities
okay,
reporting.
like
Until then,
more
we can't really do anything to,
It could be more than one release basically to get the whole
that's
thing.
what I'm thinking. And that's why I'm saying we need
So the
something
minimum,
short
I think
term.
the minimum that we can do is just to at least have the driver return as you suggested, return the model update, at least get the size.
You could do
as
that,
the
but then you're
minimum.
gonna oversubscribe your quota too.
I think that's a bigger bug.
Yeah,
I think that's a
still
much
need
bigger
more.
bug. I would say, I would rather throw the exception and say, sorry, you tried to create a 9, you needed 16.
I did what we got today.
Yeah,
Sucks.
that's
And line.
not-
It sucks. I mean,
Yeah.
Well-
good.
I'd rather do
I
what we
don't
did
know.
I'd
today.
rather give them something they didn't ask for.
yeah, and breaking the quotas.
Well, for Scale has some configuration change that, the setting that you can say, okay, let's run that. If there is, but if there's something that you can change, user go there and change it, they know that it's going to run up. So it's not completely like, we don't know about that.
So,
If it allows, if they change the
so if the
configuration.
driver asks Scale.io to create a 9, it'll give you.
Yeah, so
Give you a
based
name.
on that, the flag has, it hadn't run out. In that case, I'm thinking, it's still better just to return the model up, at least get the size in sync.
It sounds like you can just document that as a workaround,
Yeah,
but then you're violating your quotas.
Yeah, but
On
of
the
course,
other
we
hand-
are already documenting that one, just, Scale has this in there for a long time, it's not something
The
new,
operator
so-
knows what backend they're using and they know the constraints of that. Whereas if we just hear, the end user doesn't know, and that's kind of an odd thing.
It is odd.
I wanted to create a 1 gig volume, why is it failing? So I'd rather see it put on the operator that they have to deal with it, rather than the end user have a bad experience with it. But I guess I don't think there's any really great answer.
There's no
we
great,
can.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that in the short term, we'll make that change, and then at least, so make sure, the admin at least knows how to set things up and understand that.
So the
You
quota
run
is
into
not
quota
touched.
problems.
Quota is not, it's very difficult to change a quota, we can't just
Yeah.
mess up from the driver side. We have to wait for the whole thing to.
Well, it gets worse over time, but, yeah. Right, yeah.
So we make sure we do that in the arrow thing that Alex is working on, make sure that's clear.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's easy, like the way the user just needs to know. They don't all read docs. Yeah. There's another way.
Really?
Is this only for arrow? You can also do warning under like info or something. Is this only for arrow?
there's no precedent for that yet. Yeah, we could.
Well, there's also no precedent for a vendor.
That's true
So
too.
either way, we're producing something.
Yeah.
Well, the user wouldn't necessarily know it's vendor specific. They would just know that this cloud can't handle. It's kind of weird on a fuzzy mind, but
They have two services, gold and silver, and gold you can only create 8 gigs of volume. Silver you can create,
yeah.
whatever volume type. I mean, whatever volume type, there's descriptions on those, but if they can't view those. Yeah. Hopefully they don't give up after creating 1 gig, 2 gig, 3 gig, 4 gig.
Is there something we could do with the evaluate scheduler functions to have that fail at the scheduler time?
That is,
Yeah,
so you will just,
something
you will select that back then.
Yeah,
So we thought about that, but just, yeah, we did think about that, but then still, we'll talk about that later, we'll discuss that.
It'd be nice to have an error good enough where they're not calling support saying, it seems like I'm only food.
And then it just left it at the end if you go. But that way, you know, people don't know about the issue, but people don't know how to respond to any
Can you use the user message to inform the user about this?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that is-
yeah, when it's done.
We'll be working on that and see if it's possible.
The question is getting specific enough where they still.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, having the a message up multiple days.
Yeah, yeah.
Multiple vague errors.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, maybe we do that though. I don't know.
That'd be actually sending them up to the driver.
Yeah, that's the other option is like, we can say, most people, I don't know if this is everyone's case, but in our case, well over 50% of our requests are through our UI. So you just stop, you just say, I'm sorry, fix your UI can enforce this stuff. And people that are using lots of API call directly, it's a documentation that you usually need some sort of documentation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming you don't want to go so crazy as to rewrite an extension that Wraps creates for Scale IO run if you're running Scale IO. We can do that too if you really want to. I mean, how stopgap are we doing?
So is the goal of the user message not to be specific to the vendor?
So, right.
They're not supposed to know what backends are installed at all.
Because it's a tenant.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't mean that. Specific in the sense that this is the issue of that.
Right. Yeah.
but maybe sometime in the future, it's still, it's good to have a way to filter kind of, because when there was some errors, you want to know if you're running multi-backend, you want to know, you want to see all the messages on backend, right? Otherwise, it's very difficult to sort out what really happened. I'm just something maybe in the future to think about. And
Well, that's what I think.
How-
You're asking about that, right?
Well, the host wouldn't help anybody, but they wouldn't know what that meant. But I think around the volume type kind of thing.
Yeah, one type of,
We're going to have to see in the wild a little bit. That's what we want to do.
I'll keep it limited.
Well, heck, if we do the user message configuration thing, and you know you're only running Scale IO, you could have the no valid host message say, oh, and by the way, make sure you have multiple. Because that is a super generic case where you can't schedule the volume for. You have to change all the messages.
Yeah. Extend,
Yeah.
close, all of them.
They'd all be one-off cases you have to cover. Oh.
Oh. Or we could just let people deal with the work.
Was that
It's
going?
just a work, right? If you make the driver fail, or you fail creates that are wrong size, it sucks, but it's, I don't know. I'm of the opinion that it's better than kicking out a driver, for example.
Yeah.
I would also rather just fail creates than fudge the numbers.
But the fudge the message, and then in 6 months, we might be able to just fail the API call up front and give them the right message.
I mean, obviously, the long-term solution.
Yeah.
I think there's, we added a description field on the volume type that the end user sees. So when you select whatever thing, put in.
If you're creating a multiple of A volume, you should probably make it a multiple of A. Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't address everything, but it's way better.
Yeah, give a clue if you have a volume type with the scale IO, put that in the, you can document.
Yeah, I think this is definitely an operator problem, not a standard code problem. I don't
Right,
think
I
we should try to solve it.
You gotta tell the user in every way possible, so they don't call support.
Yeah.
So one option that we could give them though, is they could have a copy of the driver or a config option that's fail creates or not fail create. And then the operator gets to choose, do I want to deal with not having quotas work, or do I want to choose with a bunch of error volumes? If you have people that don't read your volume type of make it a thing of A, you can just go ahead and fail those creates and have a flag as the driver that says, I want to fail creates or not fail creates.
Okay.
What?
PLS.
Full provision, yeah, we have not added that yet, but going to. That's additional.
Put on the great volume screen. All backend support. Increments of 1 gig except scale IO.
Yeah, you said that.
I'm sure that'll pass the horizon.
Yeah.
So why that restriction?
I think there's plenty of room.
Why that restriction?
So,
What is the architecture like? The performance level, because maybe have some performance advantage.
I understand.
Okay, so we're back on some actual topic. Image convert.
The long-term solution that capability is going to be
Probably.
1 month to 3 years from now. Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the check for direct IO you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a similar, this is just for creating a set.
Yeah.
Yeah, but default does. Yeah. And I think it's simplicity. It could be an option. I mean, I think. Is that still a common thing where do we have any veterans that don't support direct IO? Or no, I've heard much about it. But I think it outfits it.
Okay, this came from, yeah, I wrote this up. I'm working on the support for attention ECPG points. Those are both support on our business systems. And in order to attach them, it requires two proprietary or two special commands, data intervals and bring the volumes online. And Scott raised the question whether we have to document these dependencies on some requirements file.
We have something similar in another vendor connector, I believe, that they run special dependencies. EMC.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, you need to have the library installed, but we don't do any dependency checks or anything like that.
So we don't care. I wasn't sure whether we cared about that. Either. I don't think so. We don't, that's fine, I'll change it. Just try to run it again. If it's there, it runs, only you know that you need this, so you go to support. That's fine, I just wasn't sure whether that was.
Yeah, you'll see an error in a lot of people feel like, you see it trying to execute the command and it'll be like,
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's your answer. Change my review. Just didn't know if something we should do something else about it. Review UX or something.
You have to check for the availability and for some sort of sensible error.
Not at the moment. I thought this was needed because it's part of the operating system. It runs on all the operating systems. Very easy.
The problem is that the check needs to be done in brick, because nobody needs to do it too. And at that point, we report some kind of sexual, we'll never get back to the user. Or it can't.
well, you know,
Yeah.
like, maybe ironic use case, users should never even know if their ship failed using command.
Yeah.
We want all that you don't let it alone.
So part of one of the other discussions we had was really with respect to breakfast government capabilities that want to help them maybe we report that early. I don't know. So you're
Yeah,
able to do something with that because it's going to go along with connectors.
yeah, I guess,
I don't know.
so if we can do that kind of more, like, this little way, what I don't want to do is have, like, every time we go connect this brick, if we're to create a connector, have to go try like 18 layers command before it's.
But we can catch that result. Right. I was actually looking into doing that because every time we do an attach, we go out for the occupancy issue, does is it asks for connector information. Have the cinders and the slice connection to do the export. And we have to collect all that info. Theoretically, it can change. Your HBA can go offline and not be available. How would that happen?
Well, pretty sure, yeah.
All right, well, there you go.
I can't believe that.
Does that mean you end up with that whole libraries?
No, we can catch the exceptions if there are errors. We just don't report those as capability from the connector going across. Like the HBAs, not every system has them, but every deployment checks to see if the HBAs are there, and we just don't report it anymore when they get back.
I mean, in theory, you could have a more specific, like, check for FC, check for AC.
Yeah.
Not, makes it harder for you to,
Yeah. The problem,
I mean, it easy was.
how long do you catch and how long do you expire? That's why we haven't done that.
That's all good for you?
Yeah.
Is that a new driver? Or the Python? They're both good. I think they become that will need the CI. Yes, they all work in so that's CI. I heard you pointed that in that direction.
Also,
It should be several pointing at certain projects.
Yeah,
correct.
same thing.
It should be like any job. What you do, the other one.
Say this has a new regulation here. Do we have sessions? Yeah. You've ever done in the morning? I do. I gave up on this on it.
There's a scheduler app that has.
So probably all at least 2 hours, say the afternoon.
Sounds one, or something. Maybe an hour.
Yeah.
Or,
Well, there's more on here. I just don't want to get into the application stuff. Really, so let's move on to CLQOS.
Oh, so this is a customer request. They want to be able to specify the IOPS per GB that they can, when you create a larger volume than IOPS, or go up with it, and then there's a cap. So I was thinking that can we use the just config option, add a config option for that, and then you can specify it if you want to store that.
Yeah,
Wasn't this?
QoS specs, set your own key and
So the one that's going to be a more kind of generic, not like just for one driver.
How many
backends, or you can't force other backends that
Oh,
don't
no.
have QoS.
It's basically like a lot of our config options. Most of them are kind of, default and you don't do it. But you can specify it if you want it. So it's going to be like even either, or maybe if it's one, that means you don't do anything, and then if it has number, then that's something like that. So just like you have, you sometimes true or false.
Like a priority on the QoS rule for.
No, not prep. This is like, so this could be IOPS per GB, and then if you set it to be I don't know, 0 or 1, that means that you're not really going to change it. But if you can change the number to something else, like 100, and then driver will read that and then will do something with it. Yeah. What are you doing?
No, but it's
an exercise.
way customers,
Okay.
I sketched it out and enough that customers made the same questions that we're going to QoS spec. To do this, just like an app.
QoS that, yeah, but you do this growth. This is going to grow. This is like going to scale, right?
Yeah, so the driver then responsible that if the volume gets extended, for instance, figuring out how to enforce that 6 feet.
So
It's recharged. No, it's fully charged. I just charged it.
Beeping or?
No, it's not beeping. It's just, it's ticking. It's ticking.
It sounds
because
exactly like
it's losing the connection to the.
Have you seen that?
Well, I love these
Without
guys.
it being there, no one's gonna hear them.
I'll link to it.
But I mean, there was just a. I think putting it in the configuration for everybody is exactly wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
QoS is we've not been able to come up with standards.
Yeah, we can't even agree on like max IOPS.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty standard. We're not gonna agree on this. Have your own key.
Yeah. The implementation, anyone specific key for themselves, then they need to keep that driver. And the answer is usually no, right? Because we've never can agree with anything. So we just say, here's how you do it for this guy, here's how you do it for this guy. Right. I'm not against coming up with common capabilities. I just think you're picking one of the trickier ones. And we haven't even yet been able to.
It's not so clear, but
the more basic
So I will take a look and see.
gigabyte size depends on how it drives, whether that key is gonna be used or not.
But that's up to the driver to determine, right? So.
Sure, and I think looking at overlap in the keys that people have and come with common language about what those are, if possible, would be the way to build cross vendor cross. I think that's a great idea. I mean, that's my opinion. What if we use state? Types of state for the terminology that we.
So, okay, just try to kind of try to make sure that we're using the same key. Yes. I think that's.
There it is.
Okay, that's the URL.
Max IOPS specs.
URL for
A
NetApps
spec.
implementation. Right.
Alex, do you have something similar to this, or exactly the same?
I think it's exactly the same.
Oh, scale, make it scale?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What is it?
The description sounds.
Yeah, it sounds it all.
Yeah, that should be.
Implementer driver gets that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big drive ball.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the same customer asking for it.
No. I know that.
Because I know one customer.
Yeah.
I think some of them actually, there's I think some are using underscores instead of, you may look at, I don't know if you guys want, your max IOPS want to be consistent with the other. I mean, there's nothing forcing you to do it, but you may want to look at
I'll grab.
like solid fires and 3 bars and or similar, but take it, I don't know. This adds confusion to the customer if they have 2 or 3 different storage vendors. One is max underscore IOPS, one is max
Yeah.
IOPS, one
You can always
is.
make it work with both, make changes. It's good. I'll actually, I'll take a look at that.
Should I start talking? I'm Giselle.
All right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, please go.
All right, so at the Meetup Summit, I was at a Cinder meeting where it mentioned that, let's start this one. Right now, when you do something like attach volume, Nova makes a Cinder call, and then it keeps on polling Cinder until the stat is in the right status. And I know that there's some interest in making it so that Nova makes a Cinder call and Cinder makes a callback when it's done, so that you don't have to poll. So depending on how this is done, this is going to break a use case that I'm very interested in, which is why I was motivated to come up with some of the way to do it. So my proposal is that the callback does not require a token. It's just an unauthenticated callback. Either URL or some part of the body would be secret, so that not anyone in the world can do it. So for instance, I could say, Cinder, please do this task, and when you're done, tell me this number. And then when Cinder's done, it tells me that number, so I know it's done. And this way you can get a callback, but for instance, if Cinder is in a totally different authentication domain, which is what I'm interested in, it still has the ability to make a callback. This also has the use case where someone besides Nova could perform an action that has a callback when it's done. You could just give it some other URL and say, please ping this URL that I just made up.
Makes what you got the dashboard does.
Sorry, say that?
On the front of this, it makes what you got the dashboard uses.
Yeah.
Although the big difference is to show those events your website needs to do. That was probably a discussion on the user. So Zappar, push all the events out to Zappar, and they'll start another website which is filtered, so they'll take all the events for this volume or all the events or all the events. And that'll be website.
I haven't thought about that at all.
That would probably imply being in the same authentication domain as well, though, right? I suppose not necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
That would be just how you figure these out too.
Is that how we will improve that? I know that you're talking about, and that would be that how getting involved in the communication between those areas.
Which makes it a requirement as well, which some people aren't going to be happy.
Like Dakar is good for polling things above the base plane layer, but
So this is definitely over the cloud.
Okay.
Just right the margin of running that.
I think it's definitely an underground, like overall, you know.
Cinder doesn't know whether you're on the cloud or over the cloud.
But you certainly could.
Yes, you could. They told me, I mean, they'll be having a networking and never a call to you while you do that. You don't start to just log that back to didn't get called for work. I quite like this as an option. But actually, one question about performance. If you give your own screen slow, and you put your DOS system, you can
Yeah, you need to be careful about that. You need to at least have Cinder gives up after a minute.
maybe it's not long.
A minute's a bit.
I'll just kind of walk your way to a work like before 7.
But yeah, that's a good start.
You're saying someone could use this as knowledge service again?
Yeah, just keep it and say, please ping this address. Or this
Or
special
it
address.
doesn't exist and it's going to hang there until the session time's up. Yeah.
That's the problem.
But yeah, not something that can't be worked around and protected against.
This seems pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, Cinder doesn't have to do anything after pushing the callback.
Joey, you just try to kill these in Cinder and push them out to the one way.
Yeah.
The words you can do, you pop all those guys, maybe you can.
Would we, well, okay.
You guys think I know.
Would we need retries? And I'm just thinking the concern of Nova calls us and then it's sitting there waiting for us to tell it it's done.
Nova would have to have a timeout.
Yeah. Yeah. Not any worse really than how it is now.
This is safe for the whole, you can have the polling the fallback case. You need that anyway because the way it restarted, lots of things like that.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm just curious what's going with the message bus. Why not just send the event to the message bus and have a word
The
skip
message
that's
bus doesn't
something?
Cloud Federation.
Yeah, but let's say you have something that's not Cinder at all, listening on the bus and forwarding it, and then the request is from.
So my understanding is that the message bus is never used between.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we can solve the red problem by pushing it out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes.
That's probably not a disaster zone in. You can do all rules and everything like that. That's probably not bad. So.
Cinder notifier.
Yeah. And you got that is great. Just been a ton of them all on them too.
I just do whatever protocol you use after the message. With your own notifier, your own HTTP, whatever.
It's something that people really agree on.
Well,
No one holding mistake. I've heard people agree about it before, and to be honest, I don't particularly care whether Nova stops polling. I just want to make sure that if Nova stops polling, it doesn't in a way that just break everything I do.
So you stop polling.
I've had people suggest to me that the Nova Cinder team wants Nova to not poll. In the same way that it doesn't poll me.
Now, was this I think there was a cross-project session on Tuesday that was, I think
So
it's titled something.
That's all multi-attach.
Oh, wait.
Is
No.
this really for the silly case of Nova creating volume? Like that's the case where polling takes a long time.
I thought that was deprecated anyway, right? No, this create volume.
Yeah, we did the volume thing, nobody decided that, okay, that's stupid, but they did it. Yeah.
Yeah, we should check this.
That's not that.
Shouldn't we check to see if that?
I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
And then we'll pull back.
Yeah.
Anybody who pulls back.
Sure, yeah. I don't know exactly where. Like this, that's the one case where I know it's bad. Like anywhere else, I can't really imagine. This is the only thing. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense to have all this for something that doesn't exist or doesn't need to exist. And in your case of wanting to know that the backup is going to back finishes, I think that's exactly what the notifiers are. The notifications.
Is this is what, was this part of that discussion?
That was entirely for users. Not.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I would predict a high confidence.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. In that case, I'm glad to be told that we don't need to do this.
The glacial pace of change in no way. Well, you know, my experience is such that, you know, things get talked about, but
It's not happening.
It's not on their list, nor is it on their stretch list, nor is it on their list of things we get done after we get done with the stretch goal. So
So if it were to come up, you have plenty of time here to raise these.
I'm just curious. You have two clouds of keystone errors, and they can attach to each other. Yeah. All your share can be attached, and this guy can talk to the other. This guy can't talk. There's only one direction. If you have both directions, there's not really much point. There's other tokens.
so you're probably safe for about 5 years.
Sounds good.
We'll keep you in mind if you see something crop up and you're not paying attention, we'll say, hey, make sure you review this and know whether you.
Yeah.
So do you think about the options, whether you do road surface?
Yeah.
Or that you look like lots of people on that. And then you get them.
In 5 years, we'll see.
That might be years. That might take a little. Okay. I can get you telling me that.
You can do this speed 3. That's a lot.
Thanks. All right, Nova would actually like to have a little discussion on multi-attach over in 406. So I think we're probably at a good point now. Let's break a little early, take a lunch, and I think we start back up at 2.